Good afternoon, everyone. It is right at 1 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and get started here right on time. I want to thank everybody for joining us and taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn about the new Keller Williams websites and what you can be doing to make sure that you're taking advantage of the opportunity now. So we're going to be talking about 5 things that you should be doing today to be ready for the new Keller Williams websites. But before we get into that, I want to first of all just do a quick audio check. So if you can hear me, if you could just put into the questions section there that the audio is good. And then second, what I'd like for you to think about is why you need a website and what these websites actually do for you. One of my favorite books is Start With Why, and I think that that's a great way for us to start the webinar here. So in the questions section, just go ahead and put in there why you think it's important for you to have a website. And I appreciate you guys all putting that in there. And looks like the biggest thing here, obviously, is lead capture. Lots of people saying lead capture. Branding, consistency, good. Credibility, very good. More lead capture, lead capture, lead capture. Yeah, if we do this survey, not just with Keller Williams agents, but with agents across the country, the number one reason why agents want to have a website is because they want to capture more leads. So if you're in that position, obviously this is the right spot for you. We're going to be talking about lead capture. The number 2 reason is credibility. Credibility is really important. If somebody's doing some research on you, or even if you were just referred to a friend or family member, the first thing that person's going to do is going to go kind of do some research on you and make sure that you're a legit agent. So credibility is really important. Your website needs to make sure that it puts your best foot forward online. If you're not, face to face with the person that needs to sell for you. And then finally, the number 3 reason, and I didn't see this come into the notes, but to be a resource. A lot of people will use their website as a community site so that people in the community can get information about what's going on there. So these are the top 3 reasons why a website is important to you and your business. And like I said, we're going to be talking about the new Keller Williams website and how all those things play together. So before we get too deep into that, I just want to let you know that we are recording this, and we'll make the webinar available to you after all the processing happens and the webinar gets online. We'll make that available to you. So if you miss something, you want to go back and replay it, you certainly can do that. Or if you want to share that with somebody else in your office, you can do that as well. And we will be doing Q&A. There's a lot of time left at the end of this webinar for Q&A. So just kind of check your questions in there as you have them. I will be doing them all at the end, so please be patient on your questions. We won't stop the content in order to get through the questions. I'm hoping that we'll be able to answer a lot of them as we go. So let's go ahead and get started here. My name is Ken Granger, and I'm the technology coordinator for over a dozen offices across the country. I was the director of technology for the North Florida region, and I actually sat on the Agent Technology Council at KWRI from 2008 to 2013. So I've got a lot of KW knowledge behind me. And we actually built a company around it. The company's Brand Co. And then we also created a WordPress for Keller Williams, which is called the Piggyback Blogs. So I've got a lot of knowledge about how the system is put together. And actually, we're the only approved vendor for Keller Williams that's working in the Playster agreement. So we are working directly with both KWRI and Playster to make sure that, from the branding side of things, we've got it covered. So just want to remind you, there's only 64 days till family reunion, and I'm sure you're all, if you don't have your tickets, you're working on buying them. But family reunion is just a short period away, and Keller Williams and Playster are working to put together a new website platform for you. And they are talking about a launch date of first quarter 2016. And typically when they say first quarter, they're trying to make things happen for family reunions. So we have to kind of insinuate that they're trying to launch this stuff by family reunion or very shortly after. So that's just right around the corner. And the reason why we're having this webinar today is to talk about what you can do to be prepared over the next 64 days so that you can take advantage, or you can leverage this time to take advantage of the new platform. But before we get too deep into that, I'd like to do a quick survey, and I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll here. And essentially what we're looking for is we want to find out what website platform you use. So whether that's eAgency or eEdge, the market leader site, the basic or the pro or some other website, or maybe you're already on Playster. So go ahead and click what website platform you're using. Okay, we got about 50% in, so we'll let a few more seconds to go by here and get a couple more answers there. If you've not selected yet, go ahead and select which website platform you're using. Okay, we're about 75%, 85%. Okay, good. So if I look over the results here, an overwhelming majority of you are using the Keller Williams technologies to power your websites. Looks like 40-some% on e-agency, 48% on e-agency, and then market leaders about another 35 or 40%. So an overwhelming majority of the agents that are even on this call are using the Keller Williams technology. And I think it would be in our best interest to kind of explain how the system is put together. So let's take a look at what the system looks like today. You actually have two websites that are given to you by Keller Williams as part of your tech fees. The first one is eAgency, and that's the kind of older platform. It's been around for a very long time. And a few years ago when eEdge was launched, they also gave you a website powered by Market Leader. And we're going to try and not call it the eEdge website because I don't want people to be confused about what eEdge is. eEdge is the entire lead and transaction management system, not just the website. And regardless of where the leads come from, whether that's eAgency or the Market Leader website, they're going to end up in your eEdge transaction dashboard or lead management dashboard. They'll show up in My Leads. So regardless of the source, even if it's the mobile app, those leads will come into eEdge. Now, when the new websites come out, those websites are powered by Playster. They're going to kind of sit in the middle of this equation. So leads from eAgency will come into eEdge, leads from Market Leader will come into eEdge, and then leads from the Playster websites will come into eEdge. So nothing's really going to change as far as how your lead management, for lack of a better term, works. So regardless of where that source is coming from, those leads will go into your eEdge dashboard, and you can run your campaigns and do all of those things that you would normally do on your leads right from there. Now, that means for a short period of time, you will have 3 websites. So you have a choice. I mean, you may already be signed up on your eAgency or your Market Leader, and you may be doing fine with those. Those are going to stay around for a period of time. The Market Leader, they've not put a sunset or date on or a date that they're going to turn that off yet. But they're expecting that eAgency will retire about this time next year, the fourth quarter of 2016. So you still have a little bit of time. You do not have to make a quick decision on whether you want to move your stuff over to Playster right away or not. Okay. So this is really important that you understand that eEdge is not going away. That's still going to be there. The websites are just kind of changing things around a little bit. So we'll make sure that we get the questions answered about this towards the end of the session. So what's really cool about this, or let's take a look actually at the different websites that you already have. This is an example of a Market Leader website. You've probably seen this a million times. It's pretty turnkey. It's like a business card website. If you're the type of agent that really isn't going to do a whole lot of lead generation online, you just want to have a resource and some sort of credibility that, at least you have an online presence, this would be a good option for you, or it was a good option for you, because it's very simple. You put a couple names in there, a phone number in there, an email address, and you hit save and it's done. There's really not a whole lot of things that you can do to customize that. Now, you may recognize that this domain name here, the subdomain kwrealty.com. So when a website lives on a subdomain like that, you don't have to worry about SEO. And in fact, you won't earn any SEO. So if you're thinking about showing up in the search engines so that you can do some lead generation, this Market Leader website wouldn't have worked for you, because you just wouldn't show up because the website lived on a subdomain. And it was very, very limited ability for you to add any content or any additional pages to it. And they did that on purpose. Again, this was a website that was supposed to be very turnkey, maybe not for a super tech savvy person. They can get themselves online super simple. The next website we'll take a look at is eAgency, and you may notice this default template or theme that everybody got signed up with when they first joined Keller Williams. But this is a highly customizable website, and what we found is a lot of agents went in there and started tweaking things around with it, and they didn't sign up to be web developers. That's not really what they wanted to do, and they found the website platform pretty frustrating. So when the Market Leader sites came out, they stripped it down. They've already got a customizable one. Let's make a super easy one, was kind of the strategy there. This is the website that if you're a Brandco client and we did refresh on, this is the website that we would do that with. And as of February of this year, we're actually able to make the website responsive, and we'll talk about what that means in just a couple minutes here. But the idea of having a responsive website is really important. This website lives on a subdomain of yourkwagent.com. So you might have seen x12345.yourkwagent.com. And again, if we remember back to the KW Realty sites, that means that you cannot earn any SEO. So this website, if you left it kind of out of the box, wouldn't earn you any search engine optimization. But if you did set up your domain name properly, you purchased your own domain name and you set that up properly, you could begin to earn some SEO on there. And these are all things that are important to know, because when we talk about the plan, the 5 steps, I want to make sure that everybody has an understanding of where they potentially may be in that 5-step plan. Finally, this is the one where we put the piggyback blog on. If you're a Brandco client, you probably have a piggyback blog. And essentially what that was is WordPress. So we put WordPress onto the eAgency platform, which gave agents the ability to blog super simple. And then this one is powered by IDX, WolfNet IDX. So I want to jump live here real quick and just kind of show you a couple of things that we talked about there very briefly about the domain names and what responsive is. This is a website for an office here near Orlando. And I'm just going to click on the Find an Agent tab and click here if you'd like to see all agents. So as we click through here, we can see a lot of these Your KW agents and Your KW Realty domains. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about these different websites. So we instantly know that this one's going to be a market leader website, and we know this one's going to be an e-agency website. And we'll come back to that in just a couple minutes. When we're talking about responsive, what we're talking about is not necessarily that it's mobile. Mobile is a benefit of responsive, but what the idea of responsive is that it responds to the size of your screen. The website responds. So it may be mobile, where we go down to this really tiny screen here, and you see that it's very thumb friendly or finger friendly. But you know what? It may also be a widescreen monitor, and I don't know how this is kind of coming across on the webinar here. Depending on your monitor, you may not have it as wide as I do. This is pretty wide. I mean, this is like, movie theater wide kind of aspect ratio. So the idea of responsive, yes, is mobile, but also that your website looks really good on every device, not necessarily just on mobile devices. So it covers wide screens, it covers standard desktops, and it covers mobile devices and tablets and whatnot. So responsive is a little bit more than mobile. So as we talk about, what comes in the new website platform, like I said, that is powered by Playster. They're going to give you a new KW agent theme. Now, Playster's been selling websites for a while, and they've got quite a few themes that are available to the general agent population. But Keller Williams is going to be getting a new, unique, and custom theme that will not be available to the other agents. And this theme is going to be responsive and mobile friendly, meaning that you would be able to have a good experience on a nice widescreen laptop, on a tablet, on a cell phone, etc. You'll have a really good experience regardless of the device. Your visitors will have a really good experience regardless of the device that they're visiting your website on. One of the really cool things about the new Playster websites is you would have access to have multiple sites in one account. And what that means is if you have a standard or your main website, and then you want a luxury website, and you want a commercial website, and you want to do a neighborhood website and a single property site, you could do a bunch of different websites under one account and manage it in one place. And I know a lot of agents, are interested in doing multiple sites. It is a lot of work to do that, but this kind of makes it simple to keep everything under one account, and it's a really good way to do that. Now, one site is included as part of your KW Tech fees. The rest of them, you'd have a very nominal fee to set up some other websites underneath there. And when I say nominal fee, it's a few dollars a month, maybe $10 a month. It's very inexpensive to spin up more websites on the Playster platform. And finally, this we alluded to it a little bit earlier, but this new platform is powered by WordPress. And WordPress is a content management system, or a CMS. It makes it really easy for you to be able to get content onto the internet. And as we start to talk about strategy here, and I'm sure you've heard it all before, content is really the key to all of this, of getting good results online, is having good content. So we'll be talking about the content that you have now and what the transition plan will look like. I see some questions coming in. We'll just kind of address the one. If you are a Piggyback blog client or a Brandco client and you have a refresh, we will be transitioning you over to the new Playster website. So the Piggyback blog content will just export out of PBB and put inside of Playster, and you'll be in perfect shape. You won't lose any SEO that you've already earned. And then if you do have a refresh or a responsive refresh, let me clarify that, we can transfer that over as well. It won't be day one when the site's launched, but it'll be, shortly thereafter that we'll be able to migrate clients over if you have a responsive refresh. If you have an older version of our refresh, we won't be able to move that over because it's not responsive, and the whole platform on Play Store is responsive. So we have some options there for upgrading on that. So WordPress is really, really good because it does give us the ability to make these transitions pretty simple. And WordPress powers 25% of the internet. So we're not talking about, some kind of unsupported or rinky-dinky platform. This platform powers 25% of the internet. And it's super powerful because it's built for SEO. And it's built for you to be able to earn credits for your content so that you show up on higher in Google. So if you're thinking about lead generation and you're thinking about your website as part of that strategy, this platform is a no-brainer. I mean, it's what you need to do. And we've been preaching this for 5 years, 6 years, and that's why we even built Piggyback Blogs, because we know that that's what's important for agents to be on a content management system that's simple for them. And what's really cool about WordPress is that content is kept separate from the display, which means that we can make transitions like this from eAgency over to Piggyback Blogs over to Playster and not lose any SEO. The look and feel is changing, which is fine, which is good for the user experience for your clients, but the content's not. So as far as Google's concerned, this website's been the same for a period of time, and it's been earning its credit and it's earning its due. And it's a very positive thing from a search engine perspective. So the content being separate from the display is a really big deal. So I see there's some questions here. We will answer those at the end. I know that there's a lot of information to absorb here, but I promise that we'll get to those questions at the end. So keep them coming. Just know that we'll grab those questions at the end. All right, so WordPress is a great thing. Everybody needs to do it, and there's really two ways that you can do that. I'm going to give you a plan A and a plan B. And I think what we'll do is we'll talk about plan B first because it's not the direction that I want you to go. And what plan B looks like is waiting till the new website launches, waiting till Playster kind of gets in place, waiting to see what happens with the way that the website looks, what happens with the folks in your office. And the problem with waiting is that it's going to lead to kind of isolation and ultimately maybe regret. Because there's a unique opportunity from the search engine's perspective once this platform is launched for a lot of people to start generating content. And if they're all doing it at the same time, it's a really level playing field. And that's good in a way. But for you individually, it's not necessarily good for you all to be starting at the same time. Imagine if you were at a race somewhere and you got a 60-second head start or a 64-day head start, right? You would definitely have a competitive advantage. And that's what we're really talking about today, is building this competitive advantage over the next 64 days. So plan B looks like, just waiting and starting with everyone else and potentially being left behind. And I know if we talk to people 90 days from now, there'll be some regret associated with that because it's going to be a lot harder to get any traction when all 100,000 agents are starting at the same time than if a few folks got some traction today. So that's really what we're talking about, is getting traction today so you have that competitive advantage. So let's talk about plan A. Plan A is these 5 steps that we're talking about of what you can do today to make sure that you're ready for the new KW websites. So let's take a look at the first step here. And really what this means is money, right? If you're leveraging this stuff out now and you're ahead of the curve, you're just going to be ahead of the curve financially. So let's take a look at this first step. And the first step is to review everything that you've got going on in your current online presence. And what we're looking for is content on your current websites that you wish to keep. So if you've created pages on your eAgency website, for example, and you want that content to stay, you would need to move that content over to your Piggyback blog if you have it, because that's what will be transferred over. So the eAgency content as it stands on the website cannot be transferred over, but if it is inside of Piggyback blogs, it can be transferred over. So if you're not using Piggyback blogs and you have some content you want to move over, you would not be able to move it over automatically. You'd have to kind of do some copy and paste jobs there. I want you to review how your domain names are configured. And we talked about that a minute ago, that your KW agent and the KW Realty. We'll talk about that a little bit more. It's really important that you kind of assess how your domain names are currently configured, because it's a big part of SEO, which we'll be talking about in a minute. But before we get there and we're talking about reviewing what's going on, I also want you to review the KW white pages and how you're displayed on all of the KW networks of sites. When we went live a moment ago, we were looking at an office here nearby in Orlando, and you can see, how some of these folks are displayed. So if we look at, the KW Realties, the Your KW Agents, we know that we don't have to worry about SEO here because you can't earn it. So, we get a little bit further down, we're not going to be concerned about that. But, if you don't have a photo there, or your main phone number is the office number, you want to look at how you're displayed on the KW website. So we can see KW Realty, KW Agent, KW Agent, KW Agent, KW Agent, and then we see Chris Baker team. Obviously that's kind of a pattern interrupt here, that we're seeing all this consistent kind of, I don't want to insult anybody, but like garbage URLs, like that means nothing. And then we come down to one that has a real URL. The guy's name is Chris Baker and his website's Chris Baker team. As a consumer coming to this page, I'm probably going to click on it. Okay. And then, it'll bring us over to his website. And actually, this is a good example because this is a website refresh on the agency. But you'll notice that this is not responsive. As we kind of shrink down here, it doesn't respond to the website. And we did a lot of these, and we didn't figure out how to be able to kind of break the Keller Williams system to be able to do responsive until, like I said, family reunion of 2015 of this year. So if you have one of these older refreshes, we do have a path for you to upgrade to a responsive one, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is what I want you to evaluate as far as looking at the KW white pages. Like, where do you fit in here? How does your domain name, is it perceived? Do you have the right phone numbers in place? Just take a look at your presence on all of the KW systems. So that's step number one. So just basically reviewing where you're at today, step number one. Step number two, I want you to assess your current SEO or your current search engine optimization. We talked earlier, if you have your KW Realty or your KW agent, you probably don't have anything to lose. But if you do have a domain name set up and we're thinking about moving or migrating that over to Playster, we need to make sure that you're not going to lose anything in that transfer. So I'm not going to say with a blanket statement that just move your domain over and you'll be fine. There are some circumstances where it may be to your disadvantage to move your website to Playster. So we can talk about those one-on-one if you have individual questions on that. But what you need to do to assess that is do a site:/yourdomain.com. And we'll do a live example of that so we can see what we're looking for in just a moment here. For any domains that you're thinking about transferring, you want to do that site:/, and we'll take a look at that. And then finally, you want to set up Google Webmaster Tools. So let's jump out live and look at that again. Google Webmaster Tools is a way, let me get there. Let's see if I did that right. Nope. There you go, webmaster.google.com. There's a little video here if you want to learn about what it does. But basically what it does is it gives you the ability to help tell Google what you want to be found for. And if you're making a transition from one website platform to another, you can tell Google about that so it's not surprised and it doesn't penalize you for the transfer. It can be like, oh, cool, this is what you were planning on doing. I see this is what you did. Thanks for letting me know. And it doesn't it's a better experience for Google to be able to relist things, and it's a better experience for your consumers because Google takes the old pages out, and at the end of the day, Google likes that. So Webmaster Tools is a free account, and I want you to sign up for that if you're thinking about transferring over. You don't need to do anything with it, just sign up for it so that it's in place for when the transfer happens. We can go in there and get everything situated. So that's Google Webmaster Tools. The first part of that, what we were talking about here, was the site:/ to check your domain name and see if you've got any SEO or Google juice there. We were looking here at Search Orlando as one of the examples. If we go over to Google, what I'm asking you to do is type into Google site:/ and then your domain name. Now this has to be done on a desktop computer. If you do it on mobile, the version of Google is not as smart and it doesn't work. But what this will tell you is the number of pages that you have indexed in the Google index. Okay, so in this case, we have 14,300 pages indexed. That's something that we need to be very careful of and figure out, what's going on, how that's set up. And we want to protect those 14,300 pages. So just, waking up one day and deciding to move the website over to Playster for this particular example would not be a good idea. You could really hurt yourself and lose some of that SEO that you've already earned by making a quick decision and just slamming a domain from one provider to another. So that's why this is important. I want you to do site colon with every one of your domains, because we need to have a really good understanding of what you have out there and what a transition over to the new website platform could potentially do, in positive or negative. We have to have good information there in order to be able to make the best decision for you. We'll help you with that, but I want you to be aware of where you're at on your site colons. So step number 2 is assessing your current SEO, what you've got in the Google search engines. So step number 3 might not be very popular, but what I want you to do is I want you to start creating community now. And when I say community, I'm talking about starting to get content together. And really what I'd like for you to do is choose 1 to 5 communities that you want to dominate. And I don't want you to pick more than 5, because we're going to be asking you to do some work here, and it's not reasonable or realistic to think over the next 64 days that you'd be able to do more than 5 communities. But I want you to pick the communities that you want to farm, that have good turnover, that you just really want to dominate. And once you've chosen those communities, 1 to 5, you need to create unique content and thoughtful content about those communities. And from a homeowner's perspective or a resident's perspective, what it's like to live there. What are the schools like? What is the neighborhood like? What's, the walking paths or evenings or, sunsets, whatever it happens to be, that lifestyle of living there. That's what I would like for you to create as far as content is concerned. And everyone's got market statistics, number of homes, age of homes, average price, all that stuff is pretty standard, and you can find that anywhere on the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, the Trulias of the world. But what you can't find is real life information about what it's like to live there. And if we're looking at the search engines, that would give you a huge competitive advantage. Just regurgitating statistics is not going to help. But putting thoughtful content about what it's really like to live there, you're going to stand out from all of kind of the default placeholder content that everybody else has. And then finally, over the next few weeks and couple months, I want you to just visit the community and take original photos. Take some photos in the morning, in the afternoon, at sunset. Take photos or videos around these neighborhoods, because this would make really, really good content. So if we've got some great information about what it's like to live there and some unique photos and custom photos, you've got a really good competitive advantage on these communities. Okay, and we'll talk about what I want you to do with that content later. In short, if you're a piggyback blog user, start blogging right now, because you can get credit for that content today. You don't have to wait to move to Playster. If you're motivated to do content, sign up for that piggyback blog. It's cheap. It's $10 a month. So it gives you the ability to get that content in there and start earning that SEO before everybody else in your office gets a hold of WordPress in February or whenever that rolls out, early part of next year. So start creating that content. I don't care if you put the content in Microsoft Word or even in Outlook or your emails for now. Just getting those words into a computer gives us the ability to then start to leverage that and put that into other systems where the search engines will find it. So just write. I don't care what platform you write on, just start writing, get this content together. And it doesn't have to be, epic, spend hours and hours and hours editing content, right? Just make it real. And if you're thinking about video, don't worry about the editing. Make it a real video. Be yourself. Put yourself out there. Don't worry about your voice or if the video looks shaky. Just get that content out there. Because the reality is, you're the only one doing it. There are very few people that are going to actually do that. So if you do something different, it's going to be a differentiator for you. So creating community now, very, very important. Step number 4 is strategizing your domain names. So we talked a little bit earlier about doing the site colon on the domains and kind of assessing where you're at from an SEO perspective. I really want you to think about your primary domain name now. If you're going to be changing website platforms, this is a good time to potentially reinvent yourself. Maybe reinvent your brand, reinvent your strategy. If you're going from a single agent to a team or vice versa, like there's an opportunity here for you to really be whoever you want to be going forward. So this is a really good time for you to sit back and review what you have as far as your domain names and maybe change course a little bit. So think about which domain names you have right now and which one might be your primary. And if you're not happy with that and that's not setting right with you, this is a really good time to change that. So your primary domain obviously is going to be your main website, what you put on your business cards and signs and all that kind of stuff. But I also want you to be thinking about those 5 communities that we talked about in step number 3. And buying domain names around those communities or neighborhoods that you want to serve. And there's going to be another land rush on domain names once everybody gets the new platform and they realize they can have multiple websites. And I would like for you to have those domain names in your back pocket if that's what you're hoping to dominate. So go grab those domain names, whether it's homes for sale or lifestyle or whatever that you associate with those communities that you want to dominate. Grab the domains now, because it's going to be much harder 4 or 5 months from now to grab those domains when everybody in your office is doing the same strategy. So we're giving you a little bit of competitive advantage here. I want you to take advantage of it. And we'll put some contact information at the end of the slide deck here. But if you have questions on those domain names and you just want to share with us, like, hey, these are the domains that I'm thinking of, we'll be happy to help you weed through them and decide, which ones maybe, best for a primary domain, which ones might be better for a backup domain. So we're happy to consult with you before you go buy, 20 domain names. We'll review those with you and make sure that the strategy is sound and solid, so you're not wasting your money on those domain names. So this is a great time for you to potentially reinvent yourself and make sure that you grab in the space that you want to dominate the domain names that will help you get there. So that's step number 4. If you do nothing but this, I think this will be a huge competitive advantage. But get this piece going, because once the domain names are purchased, you can't go back. Like, you can go back and create content. You can go back and create a new design for your website. You can't go back and grab domain names. Once they're gone, they're gone. So this is like most important of all the things that we're talking about today, is to review this strategy and pick up some extra domain names. And finally, to get a head start, the fact that you're on this webinar and you're looking at these steps means that you're aware of it and you're putting yourself in a good position. But if you have a piggyback blog, get this content that we're talking about today in there. If there are pages on your e-agency website that you created before your piggyback and you want to keep those, copy and paste those over to piggyback, because that's where we're going to be able to transfer from. So getting all that content into your piggyback blog is a very good strategy. And then any of the communities that we're talking about in step number 3 or 4, bring those over into your piggyback blog and start that today. Google will pick up on it today, as opposed to picking up on it later when you get WordPress. So the piggyback blog is kind of a keystone piece to this transfer process. And it's inexpensive. So if you don't have it already, it's $10 a month. So, getting set up and putting that in place for the next 2 or 3 months is just nominal. If you're planning on playing in this space, it's a very inexpensive way to do that. And we talked a little bit earlier about the idea of a responsive refresh. All Keller Williams agents will have the one theme. They're going to be adding themes, a couple themes per year. But in general, the themes that are being created are very Keller Williams centric. And they're kind of, I don't want to use the word generic, they look beautiful, but every single agent is going to be using the same one. So imagine when the website platform launches and you have 100,000 agents all with the exact same website. As a consumer, if you're going through this list over here on an office website and you're seeing same, and then all of a sudden different, we talked about earlier, one of the reasons why you want to have a website is to differentiate yourself and to get your brand out there. So the key to that is getting a responsive refresh. If you've already purchased a refresh from us that is not responsive, we do have an upgrade option for you. Essentially what we're doing is we're just giving you a credit for whatever you paid for your regular refresh towards the responsive. So you're 100% whole for investing with us. Before that, was it possible? Responsive was possible, and you just pay the difference, and we'll transition your website from a non-responsive to a responsive version. So getting that started now is a good idea. Obviously, it's towards the end of the year here. If you had a good year, you're looking for some tax write-offs, so there's some benefits there. You've got a couple of weeks where your foot's off the gas. A lot of people take around the holidays off, so this gives you an opportunity to work on that. And if we're perfectly honest, we already have a 40-some day build schedule. So if you order now, you still won't launch till the end of January or early February anyway. And after family reunion, that could be 3 or 4 months. So it would be in your best interest, if you want to make sure that this website that you're building from content on looks its best, that would be a good idea to get started on that now. And then finally, we've got a great Facebook group. It's facebook.com/groups/KW website. And there are some amazing contributors out there that are just giving all kinds of information and strategy and masterminds out there of how this should work and how you can get this website fit into your business. And I would highly encourage you to get signed up for that. There's about 3,000 or more users on that group. So I'd love to see that number jump a little bit today. Go sign up there. There are some early adopters that already have their hands on the technology and kind of giving you some sneak peeks of what it looks like. And like I said, all kinds of strategy and masterminding, which is a really positive experience. So here's plan A. Review your current online presence, assess your current SEO, create community now, strategize on your domain names. And if you're thinking about doing some of the stuff, get a head start, because it's going to be very difficult when everybody's trying to start at the same time. You can have a huge competitive advantage there. So I've been watching questions fly by here over the last little bit. So I want to make sure that we get those questions answered. We'll spend as much time as we need to answer these questions. And if we don't get to your question, or it's more an individual one-on-one question, I'll make sure that we'll follow up via email to make sure that we get that information over to you. If you want to reach out to us, the best way to do that is on the screen here. You can reach out, just shoot an email to hello@brandco.com. You can call into our office. Or you can join the Facebook group and ask questions of the community there. So we really want to make sure that you have an understanding of what this whole transition looks like, that you're planning for what the transition looks like for you, and that you're not afraid of it. There's enough people around here that can give you really solid advice, whether that's through the Facebook group or calling into our office. We'll be able to help you through that. So I know a lot of agents, when we start talking about technology, get kind of clammed up and kind of freeze up on it. Please don't. There'll be some regret if you are not kind of looking at that and you're looking back at it wishing that you had done something now. So there's enough people out there to support you. So let's go through some of these questions and see what we have here. So do we have to use the piggyback blog, or will there be a built-in blog? So the new website platform is powered by Playster, is WordPress based. So it will have a blog built in. On the new platform, you will not need your piggyback blog. We realize that that means that probably most people are going to move away from their piggyback blog and we'll lose that revenue. It's okay. I mean, we're going to support you through that transition, and whatever content you have can be moved over. You will not need your piggyback blog in addition to your new Playster website. That being said, we will support piggyback blogs indefinitely. So for a lot of agents, they may decide, you know what, I don't need to move. I'm happy where I'm at. Even though e-agency will be going away, the piggyback blog, your design, your refresh, all that stuff will keep out there indefinitely. So you don't have to move. So if this stuff scares you when you're looking at your PBB saying, it looks good, I'm happy with it, it's doing what I want it to do, I don't want to deal with the transition, we're going to support you, indefinitely. So you don't have to move to your piggyback blog either. Let's see. Does responsive mean that on a cell phone you do not have to enlarge the page to read a content? So yeah, so let me show you, I think, what the question means there. So he's asking if this website, for example, the Chris Baker team, that's not responsive, if we want a mobile device, the website would look something similar to this. That might be zoomed out a little bit too much for you guys to see, but you can get the idea that this is not very finger friendly or thumb friendly if this were on your tiny cell phone. So the idea of responsive means that you would not have to pinch or zoom. So if this pulled up on your cell phone, you can see people like zooming and then trying to scroll around to find things on this page. Like, that's a really bad experience. The idea of responsive is that it can be this tiny and you do not have to pinch or zoom, okay? The website responds to that device and there is no pinching and zooming to have a good experience on that website. So yeah, the idea of responsive and it is really good for mobile. There's no pinching and zooming that goes on there. That's a great question. All right. Can we port e-edge mobile leads to the new website instead of e-edge? Okay, so any leads that come in from the mobile site will still show up in your e-edge. So you don't have to port anything over. It's going to still automatically happen. So the My Mobile app, the KW My Mobile app, will put leads right into e-edge, and that path of lead capture is not going to change. Is there the best place to keep our website content? New and old before the transition. I'm a bit biased because we own it, but Piggyback Blogs because it's super simple for us to transfer it, and we'll be transferring it for you. So if you just want to worry about what content is in there, just get it all in there, and then the tech stuff we handle. So the best place for you to get content now is into the Piggyback Blogs. What if I'm blogging on another WordPress site? Should I switch over to Piggyback Blogs? Not necessary. If you've already got WordPress, don't worry about it. Stay there, clean up all your content, get your content together there. Obviously, our company won't be doing that transfer, but we can help you through that if you need to. We can work with your current website provider to bring it over as part of the transition plan. There'd be a little charge for that, but no need to switch to PBB in the interim. If you don't have WordPress already, PBB is a great place to start, but you don't need to switch from another WordPress site to Piggyback Blogs. It's same. Can the eEdge website be responsive or refreshed? No. The eAgency is the platform that we do the responsive refreshes and the regular refreshes on. Let's see. Will the refresh data automatically be responsive? I think that, let me see how I can, will the refresh data be automatically responsive? So if you do a refresh with us now, yes, it is responsive. If you did a refresh with us prior to February of this year, it is not responsive. So it's not automatically, just depends on when you did that. And that's just because the code base wasn't available to us prior to that. We hadn't figured out a way to be able to make that work. eAgency is an old system, and it doesn't really like to play friendly with modern technology, which is one of the reasons why I think they're replacing it. So it's not automatically. You would have had to purchase a responsive refresh specifically for that. Can the artwork remain from the initial refresh? If you do have a refresh from us that is not responsive and you choose to upgrade, we will make them look very similar and very consistent so that you're not losing that branding. It will look better, quite honestly, because we're not forced to put the navigation in a certain place. We can use larger images, but the same look and feel can be there. The same consistency of your brand will be there, absolutely, when we do the upgrade. Let's see. So this is a really great question. What is the one thing, which is very Keller of us to say, that we should focus on with KW websites to make an impact on getting noticed and actually generating leads? I've been with Keller Williams for 5 years and I've not generated any deals from my website, and I would like to improve that. So if we talk about what is the differentiator online, it's content. And if we look at the current eAgency or eEdge market leader platforms, and we even look at Playster, every single Keller Williams agent is exactly the same unless they do something about it. So the one thing that you can do is you can be a content creator around your specialty, around your farm area, around those 5 communities that we talked about. So if you did one thing, it would be to put content on the web around the areas that you want the leads to come from. And it's got to be unique content. And I know that this is not an easy thing, and it's not something that you wake up every day saying, gosh, I wish I could write some content. But that's the one thing to make a difference. If you're in a situation like this, you've had your website for 5 years and you haven't gotten a single lead from it, you have to ask yourself, why would anyone come to my website? Why would Google put me on the first page? There's nothing good there. There's nothing unique there. There's nothing relevant there. It's just the same stuff that's on 100,000 other agents' websites. So you have to make yourself different. You have to write content. So the one thing that you should do for the next 64 days is write content on those 1 to 5 communities that we talked about. Let's see, plans and pricing when it comes to Playster. That's not announced yet. They do have pricing out there on their public website. The Keller Williams pricing will be different. They're negotiating all that stuff out now. So don't look at it going, oh, I need to spend $200 for something. You won't. There'll be different pricing there. Is Piggyback Blog going to be part of the new site? No, it would be retired. I just had my website refresh and added the Piggyback Blog, but I haven't started. Is it worth it to start now? Absolutely. Get started now. That content will port over for you, so you'll have a head start. You absolutely should start now. What information should you put on community blogs? You should put the statistics, but really what it's like working there, or I'm sorry, what it's like to live in those communities. Let's see. Who should we call to discuss going to responsive? Call the number on the screen there, or the hello@brandco.com. How old are the non-responsive sites? We've been doing them for years, almost, I think 2008 was the first one that we had done. So we've done 7 years of non-responsive, and this year we were just finally able to do the responsive. So since we currently pay for WolfNet IDX, will we still have to pay for these? You know, you have a really interesting opportunity to choose what you want to do. If you're happy with where you're at and things are working on WolfNet and you've got some good SEO and high page count, you don't have to leave. Like I said, we're going to support you indefinitely. So you may want to keep your WolfNet. You might not want to pull the plug and switch over. So what's really cool about this is you'll be able to choose. While eAgency will be going away, we're going to continue to support everything that we've done on that platform to the best of our abilities, and so is WolfNet. So you may continue to stay with WolfNet if you choose to do that. Let's see. Will content automatically be moved over to Playster? No, because of that choice, some people will decide that Playster is not the right platform for them, and we won't automatically move you over there. Once we get the green light that it's okay to start doing that, we'll send an email out to all of our clients, and we'll kind of get a list going, and we'll go in order by who signs up. Not everyone will want to, and we're going to support you in that too. So if you want to move over, great. If not, great. Will there be a charge to move content? At this point, it's looking like no. We're going to move you over at no charge unless something crazy comes up and it turns into, a bunch of hoops to jump through. We're hoping and expecting to be able to do that for all of our clients at no charge. Let's see. Is there a charge for you to move us to Playster? If you have a responsive refresh, we're expecting that there will be no charge unless there's some crazy thing that comes up. We're expecting that there'll be no charge there. If you don't want to pay for a responsive refresh, but you already have a regular refresh, will you lose the images and layout in the transition? You would. Only responsive would move over to Playster, in which case you can stay on PBB forever. So, you don't have to move to Playster. If you like the way your website looks and you don't really care about responsive, you can do that. Leads from Playster will go into eEdge. Will responsive be included in the new sites? Yes, the new KW theme is responsive. And then after, the follow-up question was, if the websites are responsive, why would we want to refresh? Well, there's 100,000 agents with the exact same theme. So, your brand matters. It's your brand that should be kind of front and center, not necessarily Keller Williams brand. So if you want to stand out and have your brand shine, that would be the point of doing a refresh. And that's really what you're paying for, is the design aspect of that, and for us to code it out. Thank you very much. This is helpful. That's good. How do you move things from your site to piggyback blogs? If you already have piggyback blogs, you could either create new pages or new posts and just copy and paste the content that you want to bring over. What about current KW content? Okay, this is an interesting one. So we actually have gotten approval from KWRI that all of the content that's stock content on eAgency, like the buyer's resources and the seller's resources, can be ported over to piggyback blogs. So we already have all of that content on PBB. So if you like the buyer's resources page and seller's resources page, just give us a call. We can turn all of those on your piggyback blog, and you do not have to copy and paste that content. We already have it there for you. And then, of course, if that content is there because you liked it, it can be transferred over to the new Playster sites. If we added pages of information to our eAgency, will the same info transfer over, or do we need to transfer that info to our blog? It must be transferred to your blog. eAgency to Playster will not happen. eAgency to PBB, and then PBB to Playster will happen. What is the IDX from Playster? They have their own, and I think we're starting to wrap up here. There may be a couple of questions that I skipped over. We're going to have the team go through those very diligently to make sure that no questions were left behind. And obviously, you can reach out to our team if you have individual or one-on-one questions about how all this will work. So I do really appreciate that you took an hour out of your day today to kind of go through this. I hope that you have a little bit of a roadmap of what needs to be done and how you can do that. I will send out a checklist and a copy of the link to this video once it all gets processed, so that you can be as successful as possible and leverage this time that we have between now and family reunion. So thanks again for your time. Please feel free to reach out to our team if you have any questions, and join that Facebook group, because there's a lot of great people out there that are sharing a lot of great information. So enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you very much, and we'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.